Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this video talking about the full moon in Scorpio happening on April 26th at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, this full moon is one of the most discussed full moons that I have ever seen on social media, and that really makes me very excited to know that the full moon is getting so much coverage by so many different astrology enthusiast people, and it really goes to show that this kind of super moon that we're experiencing is really bringing out the truth in everybody. It's really bringing out a sense of authenticity, of sharing from our deepest core. And in this video, I want to cover just some easy, simple perspectives on what Scorpio is, what Taurus is, how this full moon is going to be affecting us. And I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice, as well as I'm going to cover the natal chart or the transit chart instead for the full moon for this event happening. So all in this video, I'm going to cover as much as you need to know, everything you need to know about the Scorpio full moon. So on the left here, you can see that I have a couple themes on my video. And those themes are about having really big emotional shifts. We're talking about purging a lot of energy within us. But we have to remember, even with full moons, we are actually cultivating energy. We are actually bringing up energy. That's the waxing side of a moon. It's bringing that energy into our lives so we can cultivate and culminate that energy into our lives. But when we have something like a full moon in Scorpio, where the moon actually falls in Scorpio, the moon in Scorpio is very, very emotionally wounded and emotionally pained and emotionally scarred by certain things. We can really think about things like PTSD and these repressed memories that we have. Scorpio being the sign of psychology, hidden psychology. With Scorpio, what actually we find is that it's less so sometimes that we hide the psychology from others. Yes, we have secrets. Yes, we have this hidden side of ourselves, but it's actually a little bit more accurate to say that the Scorpio placement itself hides it from ourselves. And that's where we get into the realm of suppression and repression, where maybe psychologists such as Freud and Jung would have talked about bringing up those repressions, bringing up past life memories, bringing up fragments, soul fragments out of our being so that we can recover them, integrate them, and remember who we are, to awaken parts of ourself that we may have forgotten. A lot of times what we tend to do is we tend to project into the world that we have, let's say, deities out in the world and everything's external. But with Scorpio, we actually come to remember that all of what's happening is inside of us. All of what's happening is inside of us. There are no, let's call it deities in the external, but they are only reflections in our imagination, in our subconscious, in the archetypal realm within, where the roots are, where everything internal takes place, and thus we alchemize it, and then the external world begins to reflect that. So anytime we see projections in the external world, that's what they are. They're kind of false light matrix ideas, because all of what's happening, all of the beautiful stuff of mysticism and spirituality, that all happens within us. And that's something that the Scorpio full moon is deeply going to bring out. So when we talk about something like purging right here, what we're really talking about is we're purging the ideas and the illusions and the mysteries of life that we are disillusioned by, that distract our reality from realizing that we actually hold the power. And holding the power is something that we're learning in this full moon as we release, as we let go of attachments and ideas of us not holding the power and us not being in control. Because Scorpio is another sign of powerlessness, and that powerlessness especially comes through with addictions, attachments, intimacy that's not good for us, relationship patterns that we keep repeating, perhaps from mom and dad, and all of the hidden psychology that we have repressed in our lives that we're ready to actually unlock. You can almost imagine like a box in your mind full of your potential, and you now have the key to unlock it and release that potential into the world. That's really what this supermoon is bringing to us. Or you could even imagine that your potential is something that you're constantly facing in the world, and you only face your potential and then you turn that into actuality, into actual reality. Or you can even imagine that your potential is something that is asleep within you, like Sleeping Beauty, where you go and it's your job to awaken that from within, to remember your power, to come back into this power. So as you can already tell, this moon has a lot of fragmentation that we are integrating back into our being. And integration really is a word that I should have threw up here on the themes, because integration is the ultimate theme that's going on here, because integration is both releasing and accepting at the same time. So we have a big theme of imagination right here. That's really we're gonna see this with a lot of the Taurus placements. We've got Venus in Taurus, we've got Uranus in Taurus, and Mercury in Taurus, as well as Lilith, if you want to count Lilith as well. And I'm sure there's plenty of other asteroids in Taurus as well. We have authenticity, because authenticity is who you are when you're not in a powerless state, when you have when you've forgiven yourself and you've accepted yourself and you're ready to release that power into the world, ready to be your truest self. That is authenticity, and that's something that we are going to discover with this full moon, which means it comes from the emotional shifts that we have here. Those emotional shifts allow us to purge, allow us to welcome in and cultivate and culminate the truest version of ourselves. And lastly over here, these two, darkness and attachments, these two things really come with the Scorpio. This is the fall position of the moon. Now, when we talk about Scorpio moons, I have to say I have a lot of love for Scorpio moons as a Leo moon myself, because for example, a lot of us will spend all of this time believing that we need to be in love and light and joy and Christness and all of this amazing light, right, where we're bringing the full moon of the light. Well, the Scorpio moon actually reminds us, they say, you can't bring your light forth unless you have gone within and have grappled with the darkness, have grappled with your attachments, have grappled with those parts of yourself which are anchors to your soul. The Scorpio moon highlights the anchors to your soul. And in fact, in many ways, by facing that darkness, facing those attachments, you're actually able to shine your light even more. That's why, as a Leo moon, I really love Scorpio moon energy, because they check me and they keep me in balance with myself. Instead of having emotional attachments, I have emotional shifts which release those attachments and give me the ability to step into my authenticity. And part of our authenticity is using my imagination and using your imagination to create the reality that you want to live in. So that's my introduction to this Scorpio full moon. I've seen a ton of people talking about this, and once again, that brings me so much joy. And I just want to say that this is a period of time where we're going to experience a strong duality, because with Scorpio, we do tend to experience a duality even though it's a fixed sign. We have to battle with the darkness to find the light. We have to battle with the light to find the darkness, and vice versa. There is a journey into the underworld. I've talked about this before on my Hero's Journey, exploring the underworld video. If you haven't watched that video, please go check it out. It's all about the underworld. The video is very relevant right now. So this journey of duality really means that we have to integrate both the darkest parts of our being, the parts that we want to run away from. It's very Lilith energy. Lilith energy is all the things we don't really want to face, and we are kind of forced to face those things. That's not all Lilith is, but that's a part of her. It's that the repressions and then their darknesses. Lilith is exactly pretty much opposite to this this full moon here in Taurus. So it's a big theme when we talk about facing those parts of ourselves that we want to get rid of and just like shy away from and hide in the basement and lock away and repress and never face and then see it in other people and see our shadows in other people and then hate that version of themselves when it's really just a reflection of ourselves. So important for us to not run away anymore. It's time to finally say, I accept who I am. I accept that I have demons, and I accept that I have angelic support helping me, and whatever that way means to you. It's important that we integrate. You really want to look at, let's call it demonic energy or the demons in your life, as you want them to respect you. You don't want them to laugh at you while you're running away saying, no, please don't be a demon to me. You want them to respect you, and the only way they're going to respect you is by dealing with all of these things, dealing with having a connection to your emotional reality, purging those mindsets of fear, using your imagination to create a world around you that you want to live in, thriving in your authenticity, living in authenticity, and really growing in authenticity, facing the darkness, not fearing the darkness, and not being chained to the devil's throne with your attachments. Those are all important themes for the Scorpio full moon. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into the natal chart here. I should call it really a transit chart. So as we see, we've got the full moon happening on April 26th at 11:30 p.m. EST. I have it for Central Standard Time because I am in Louisiana, but Eastern Standard Time is a good time to do this. And I have this chart here in whole signs. So as we can see right off the bat, Scorpio full moon, 7 degrees, 6 arc minutes across from this wonderful Taurus stellium where we've got the sun in Taurus. That's the same degree. And that's what a full moon is by definition. So let's talk a little bit about the opposition, and then we'll get into some of the cornering aspects here. Now, first, we obviously see the sun in Taurus at across from the moon. That's what a full moon is. The sun in Taurus, we have to remember in Taurus season, we battle here between this opposition, and on the Scorpio side, this represents complexity. It represents, psychology is complex, philosophy is complex, the darkness, the parts of you that you want to run away, it's complex. It's not simple. It's not just to say like, oh, I'm scared of success. Well, where did that come from? Did it come from your parents? Did it come from society? Did it come from your friends? Maybe it's all of those things, right? And you have to unravel all of those things. Are you scared of intimacy? Well, maybe that came from your parents. Maybe that came from your friends. Maybe that came from society. Maybe that just came from poor experiences and traumas that you have that you got to face. See how complex it is? Taurus, on the other hand, is the antidote to complexity. This is if Scorpio is chaos, then Taurus is order. And this is the Hierophant energy in the zodiac. Hierophant meaning the kind of preacher, the clergyman, the one who says God is love, God is simple, God is truth. Whereas Scorpio might look at God and say like, well, who made God? It's like there's this fight, this like, I need it to be complex, right? And there's room for both of these to be realistically important. Taurus sometimes says things are so simple that they forget that there's actually complexity, and Scorpio says things are so complex that there is no simplicity. The truth is there is a straight balance between both complexity and simplicity. In Taurus, we're really focusing on how to make things simple. Simple. And what that really means is, how do we make our personality simple? Once again, goes back to that last page where the theme was authenticity, imagination. You have to imagine your reality into existence for it to be real. Your imagination is your connection to the divine, straight up. To the divine is your connection. We have Uranus here in Taurus. Uranus is going to be in Taurus for like 7 more years. This is about embodying spirituality. This is about healing your body with spirituality, healing your body with awareness and consciousness, using consciousness and spirituality to be simple, right? Not everything has to be super complex. With my astrology, I try to just be like straight up, like this is what it is, this is how it is, and this is how we're going to deal with it. It's not so much like, well, the reason why astrology works is because the stars have this energy, and the energy creates vibrations, and in our body, the vibrations of our body create crystalline structures. It doesn't have to be that complex, you guys. It really can just be with something like Uranus and something like this Taurus stellium that we are experiencing shifts where we are consciously facing those complex parts of ourselves, and we're trying to make it simple. We're trying to make it just, let me ask you this. What do you want out of your reality? What do you want out of your imagination? What do you want out of your life? It's pretty simple. Obviously, those are rooted in our desires. Now, if we think about the two parts of the body that Taurus and Scorpio rule, Taurus rules the throat chakra, and Scorpio rules the reproductive organs, the sacral and root chakra down there. So both of these together, we have to link those parts of our body up. What do we desire? Scorpio, what do we desire? Taurus, how do we voice that? How do we create it in our mind? How do we envision it? How do we deal and grapple with those desires? Which desires are good for us? Which desires are terrible for us, right? There's a balance between all of this. Uranus is helping us to bring all kinds of incredible manifestations for this full moon. I've seen so many relationships popping up, and I would honestly warn you guys a little bit to some degree that these relationships are probably being created out of a sense of loneliness, out of a sense of, I feel so much romantic energy from this Taurus stellium. I feel so much romantic intimacy, that energy that maybe I'm creating a little bit of lust. Maybe I'm creating a little bit of desire to be in some kind of romance just because I'm craving it right now. Think about starting a relationship by craving intimacy, craving that lust. It doesn't always work. You have to use your imagination to plant the seeds to have that work for you. If you're in a relationship, plant some seeds to make that relationship even better. Is your relationship too complex? Learn how to communicate the throat chakra. That's really what this full moon's asking of us. Venus in Taurus. We love Venus in Taurus because she has so much beauty. I really think about the Empress card in tarot. She's just sitting there in her garden, just appreciating life. All of this Taurus energy, by the way, it's very heavy because it's earthy energy. When we think about Taurus, we think about napping, and we think about just eating grapes in our throne, like enjoying the luxurious things of life, comfort, and those are all great. And a lot of this is really saying that right now, what we need to really do, instead of putting in all of the hard work, we sometimes need to visualize it and imagine what we really want, and then plant the seeds and watch the seeds flourish into reality. When you plant a seed, you kind of, in many cases, you don't always have to water it. That's kind of a misconception in manifestation, for example. Sometimes when you plant a seed and you're watering it, what we're really doing is we're grow, grow, grow. Will you grow? Finally grow. And it's we actually sometimes can overshadow it when we need to kind of plant it and let sun and nature do its job and bring it forth to us. Now, there is some truth to taking care of the garden, but make sure that you're tending your garden in understanding that there is higher forces working in the world, such as nature. Nature is a higher force. Uranus is really reminding us of all of that energy. Our relationships are really having a deeply spiritual inclination, where our relationships actually bringing to light the fact that we still have a lot of healing left to do. That's really an important theme here. Uranus is saying, hello, use your awareness. What are your relationships going through right now? Use your awareness, use your consciousness. Synchronicity doesn't happen just because it's fun. It happens because there's messages in it. What are your dreams telling you? What is this person in front of you telling you, and reflecting back to your internal self? These are all reminders of this Taurus stellium. We've got Lilith in retrograde motion in Taurus, 15 degrees, very right at the peak, 30 degrees between a sign, 15 is right in the center. And what do we have on top of that? Mercury. So what does that say? Our minds, Mercury, our throat, Mercury, kind of Taurus energy, we are in our heads thinking constantly over and over and over and over again, I want love. I want to be loved. I want romance. I want passion. I want a partnership. I want some significant other. I want somebody to be around me. I need. I need all these things. I want all these things. And as a result, Lilith comes in there and she's like, oh, I can help you. I can give it to you. I can show you sexual seduction. I can show you this intimacy. I can give it to you. But guess what? There's always a price to pay with demonic energies. So with Lilith, you've got to say, okay, Lilith, what I really want is this. I really want these things, right? So you start to create this idea in your mind, this imagination. You start to create this perfect significant other that you do desire. But what you need to step away from, and maybe I should say better, what I suggest you step away from, is the lusty side of settling down. Are you unable to be single long enough to actually allow your blessings to flourish and manifest in your life? Or are you able to say, Lilith, I want those things. I do want some sexual intimacy in my life. I do want some romantic capacity in my life, but I'm willing to actually sacrifice some of my short-term pleasures for something that is longer-term satisfaction or stability. That is truly what Lilith is kind of giving you the odds for. She's like, I can give it to you right now, or I can kind of put it in the future and you can have it then. Lilith energy is not a bad thing, and I really hope I get that across in this channel. Lilith energy is useful because she will actually teach you things. She gives you the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Good and evil. So evil would be those lusty temptations that say, I want it right now. I need it right now. I'm so horny right now. I need it. Versus I'm horny for, romantic love, right? There's the difference there. So look at what we're facing across from the Scorpio moon, which is bringing out a lot of the awareness that we have around these kind of placements, this kind of energy. We are looking at the sacral chakra, looking at our desires and asking ourselves, what do we truly want? Guess what? This period of time is the best time to plant some seeds in your imagination, because right now you have a connection between your desires. Full moon. Full moons bring illumination. The sun's reflecting on the moon, bringing illumination to your desires. Bring it to your mind, bring it to your throat. Don't leave it down there. Bring it up and actually plant the seeds and manifest that way. Because right now you have such an amazing portal to bring that forth. So let's look at some of the other things that are going on here between this this full moon here. So if we look at this chart over here, we see, let's see, we've got, oh, I don't like that color. So we've got full moon. We've got Mars in Cancer, 2 degrees. So there's a 5-degree separation, which is the trine. Mars is the planet of sexuality. Mars in Cancer is emotional satisfaction, emotional nourishment, and emotional, really, expression here with Mars. Sometimes that emotional expression, by the way, fall position. Neither one of these planets here are at home. They are not normally comfortable here. So when Mars in Cancer says, I want it, Mars in Cancer tries to get it pretty quickly. It really wants it. Now, just because Mars is at a fall position doesn't mean that it's at a position where it's weak. It actually means it's at a position where emotions become the fuel source. And if your emotions, Scorpio full moon here, are heightened, which is, remember I was talking about emotional shifts. Well, we have a planet of Mars, which is ruled by sexuality and our body's energy. You know, there's 2 ways to look at this kind of energy, and I really would suggest it like this. 1, you can look at your sexual energy as something that is a detriment, something that's like, oh my God, I'm so ruled by my lust and my attachments. Or 2, you can actually look at your sexual energy as something that fuels your body, fuels your emotions. Let that shit like burn away, you know, let it flow, like let it be, let it become who you are without it taking over you, right? Swim in the waters, but don't drown is what I'm saying here. That's how I view sexuality. Sexuality to me is something so amazing. It's incredibly intoxicating, and I respect it. I bow down to it versus I become a victim to it, and I become a lusty, full of attachments to just people and creating etheric cords with strangers. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a difference between expressing and truly repressing, and that's really a theme that's going to come up with both Mars and the full moon here. By the way, Mars in Cancer rules the moon, and we look at the full moon in Scorpio. Scorpio rules Mars. There is an extremely deep connection here. The moon in Scorpio is highlighted by Mars, and Mars in Cancer is highlighted by the moon. So remember that is very important. Watch your emotions. Watch your emotional stability. If you're creating from a sense of lack, you got to watch yourself. If you're creating from a sense of abundance and joy, then you're going to bring some great manifestations into your life. But you got to be willing to face those things that are uncomfortable. What do we like in Taurus? Comfort. Comfort. Face the things that are uncomfortable and you'll thrive, as well as you'll create a future where that comfortable energy is greater. Now let's look at some of the other transits going on here. We've got the moon in Scorpio, and it's going to make a little bit of a strong square over here to Saturn in Aquarius. Now, Saturn in Aquarius is interesting because over here we also have some energy at around 12 degrees making another square, right? So we have this really grand square going on both sides of this chart to 12 degrees Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn is one of those placements that really reaffirms what I'm talking about here, which is, are you willing to prolong your short-term satisfaction, pleasure, lust, whatever it is, so that you can plant those seeds and create a beautiful garden for yourself of romantic love, of abundance, of prosperity, of all of the great, wonderful spiritual buzzwords? Are you willing to prolong that and live in your authenticity, or are you going to settle? Are you going to create a life that you're not really satisfied with, and are you still going to create more repressions with Scorpio? It's either you face your repressions or you're going to create more of your repressed energy. And that's really why the first page here was talking about emotional shifts, purging, authenticity, darkness, attachments, because we have to face a lot of those things inside of this full moon energy, and it's really coming up pretty strong. So let's see here. So we have Saturn in Aquarius. Let me circle these again. And let's talk about the connection with the moon first. As soon as the moon starts waning, aka full, now pouring that cup out, we start to face Saturn. So this whole time we've been waning and filling up this full moon, and we've been filling up that cup from Aries, new moon in Aries, full moon in Scorpio, both ruled by Mars, sexuality, romance, and getting after it, get to the getting. filling our cup up of like, I want to do it, and we get to this peak point, and now we're actually releasing. And one of the best things is that we can actually release with Saturn and Aquarius in mind, and that is where the word authenticity comes from. We have been working towards what in our lives? Ask yourself, what have you been actually trying to manifest and consciously build? Mars is building energy. We've got it now in Cancer. Are you building up a stronger foundation? Fourth house, Cancer, the home. Are you building up a stronger foundation of your beliefs, or are you really just building for a purposelessness? Do you have a reason? Do you have something that you're living for? Do you have something that expresses your identity, your authenticity to the world, to the wider world? For me, I love making videos. I love talking about astrology, and I've been making more videos than I ever have in my whole life, and I love it. It's really great for me. That's my expression of this, and you can see it in my authenticity. It's something that I'm built for, right? Not to talk too much about myself, but I'm built for it, and I love doing it. Therefore, I've taken advantage of this time to make sure that I'm making as much content as I can, because it brings me a strong emotional shift and a resonance with my authenticity. And I hope that in your life you have something that creates the same for you, because that's really where Saturn and Aquarius is going to bring the greatest shift. Now, there's a square aspect here, and squares say it's challenging. For me, making videos is challenging because I have to actually step outside of my emotional comfort zone, which is not making videos. My comfort zone is to imagine the videos. It's not my comfort zone to make the videos until I start doing it and I realize, holy shit, like this is not so bad. And that's really an important thing for you in your life. Like maybe you're scared of something that is not really that scary, and it's time to actually face it. And that's where we talk about the darkness in our lives. What are you scared to face that you really, truly find authentic about your life? How can you purge to bring in that authenticity and that, see, emotional shifts? All of this is coming together so nicely in this chart, and we can really see why that is. So let's see what else is in the chart. Let's see, we can talk a little bit about Neptune here. One of my favorite astrologers, Rick Levine, talked about this. Rick Merlin Levine, let me put some spice on the name Merlin over here. He talked about the connection that he actually sees, and I forgot the minor aspect that he calls it, semi-questile or something like that, but it's actually making that to Neptune over here. And you see how this, from across the chart, it creates this kind of like influence from Neptune. Neptune's a very important placement for this because we talked about imagination, but we really need to talk once again about how everything in the external world is a true illusion of Maya. It is fake. Okay, if you put God out there, you'll never find him because God is in here. You have to awaken those deities. You have to awaken the archetypes within you. It's not something in the external world. The warrior archetype doesn't exist out there. It exists in here. Your imagination is your body of Christ. It is your body of manifestation. You don't manifest by shifting the world out there as much as you manifest by shifting the world inside of yourself. You have to know what you want, what you desire, what you don't want, what you don't desire. You have to know exactly what it is inside of you that is authentic, because the world will tell you who you are until you tell the world who you are. And that's what's really most important about this full moon. The Neptune aspect is going to say that in the external world, there are going to be a lot of forces that are really trying to, let's say, influence your life in a way that is questionable, in a way that is an illusion. Many ways you could look at this is that how is the world's governments, how are the world's societies, how are the world's influence from the collective consciousness, from social media, how are those affecting your perceptions of reality? Are they warping your mind and thinking, I need to be in Tulum, I need to be in Bali, I need to be traveling across the world? Or are you saying, I am actually soulfully satisfied with who I am, where I am, how I look, how I exist in this world, my connection with the divine. I don't need another person to connect with the divine. That's the point I'm making here. There is a spiritual liberation inside of this full moon that is incredibly beneficial to tap into, and it's something that I want to give you guys the reminder of, that everything that's so beautiful about the external world first gets cultivated in your internal world. You don't look at a mountain and say that's beautiful because the mountain's beautiful. You look at the mountain and say it's beautiful because you internally feel that it is beautiful. And that's what's really important to understand about anything you want to talk about in the whole world. Anything that's ever been created in this world first came from your imagination, first came from a human's imagination. Even if you're talking math and science and anything that's even super objective, even this universe came from first a thought that was spoken into existence. And that's really an important thing to understand here. Scorpio, it's deeply inside of you. Taurus, it's inside of your body, in your throat, in your mind, in your soul, in your consciousness, in your sacral chakra, really, truly. So that's going to be kind of my overall analysis. I guess I can talk a little bit about some of the other things that are going on. Up here, this will be a little more esoteric for you guys. Up here where Vesta is on top of the Apollo asteroid and on top of Atlantis. Those asteroids are really bringing, we can see it's like it's making this aspect right here, this sextile. That sextile to the full moon is bringing, for many people, an Atlantean shift. And the Atlantean shift is all about acknowledging a few things. One, that purging that we're doing, it's really, if we think about this, the city of Atlantis, then we think about how that it's underwater, right? So is Scorpio. It's under the water in many ways. And we have to bring back those past life fragments, bring back that soul recovery, and so that we can remember who we are. And then there's the Apollo asteroid, which I'll dog on myself for a second. This really is, I had someone come into my DMs, Kelly, she's probably watching this. She said she was trying to figure out the Apollo asteroid, and she said, I think it's surmised to the term immature fuckboy. And I was like, yeah, I hear you, okay? I hear you. Like, I hear immature fuckboy. But truly, that's the unconscious side of the Apollo energy, which is kind of like Lilith, right? When she's unconscious, it's kind of like the energy of like, I want it now. I'm just going to chase after all of these people and try to find some satisfaction and warmth in myself by finding something external. But once you actually detest that and detach from that, you actually get to this state of being where inside of yourself, you can feel comfortable. And the thing that you start to chase after and connect with is the satisfaction of God's love. And that's where the internal warmth comes from. And that's something that I think that this full moon is really here to bring out of us in general. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. I think that this video covers and gives you guys enough advice to really handle this full moon energy, even when it's past and it's waning. And I hope that this video, and I trust that this video, has given you some insights. And if you like the video, please leave me a like on the video. Leave me a comment about what you're dealing with during this Scorpio full moon. Let me know what your moon sign is. Let me know what you're going through, and I'll have a conversation with you guys in the comments. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification. If you want to see more videos like this, I would love to make a Scorpio full moon ASMR Reiki type of video as well. So I might have that in the works coming up. So keep an eye out for that. And I will be posting a Taurus season video talking all about Taurus season, giving you guys all kinds of insights. So stay tuned, and much love to you guys, and many, 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 many blessings. So much love. See you later.